This is the overview of Chapter 16, where the topic is sort of twofold. It's number one, the use and abuse of anabolic steroids, and also the issue of testing for these illegal substances among athletes, but also the testing in the workplace as well. So it's kind of mixing together a couple of different topics. So I'm going to, as I usually do, I'm going to stick to what I consider to be the most important points. But, and I also end up having not enough time to cover everything I'd like. So let me just say it up front that, especially the section where they talk about the drug testing in the workplace, make sure and cover that material carefully because that's an important section toward the end of the chapter, which unfortunately I did not really have time to add that to this overview. So let's jump in at the beginning. Testing for the presence of performance enhancing drugs has become an accepted fixture of modern day sports. So this is the one drug uh, that we're getting into that we're going to be covering that is used most often in the context of weightlifting, bodybuilding, and sports. And so it makes it a little bit unique and different from some of the other drugs that we have been talking about. Present day drug testing has been extended beyond the world of athletic competition and performance enhancing drugs. Drug tests for a range of illicit drugs are a common feature of pre employment screening. So the textbook sort of makes the point that you begin to see this drug testing first of all in the sports world, and then it sort of makes its way into the workplace, and has become quite a standard feature in many employment settings across the country. For example, here they mention pre-employment screening, but also other sorts of testing too for employees. This practice has come under considerable scrutiny, particularly when there is testing for specific drugs with questionable relevance to one's performance on the job. The typical drug testing procedure begins with a urine sample. So this is the most traditional approach. Different types of urine samples. The advantages of using urine lie in the following. Number one, the ease and non-invasiveness of collection. Number two, the ease of analysis for specific factors. And three, the fact that the drugs or their metabolites, meaning their byproducts, what's left when they're broken down, are usually very stable in frozen urine. So there's some advantages to using that particular technique of drug testing. The disadvantages are the following. Many perceive urine collection to be a humiliating experience. A dehydrated athlete may find it difficult to add immediately after competing, and there are ways to tamper with the urine sample prior to testing. Let me say that just in this context, in case I forget to bring it up later, I think one major weakness of this chapter, which if I have opportunity in a future course, I'm not able to do it this semester, is that this one area that is left out pretty much in this chapter is the use of drug testing within the criminal justice system for people, for example, who are on probation, that sort of thing. So that's an important area where drug testing is regularly used, and one that's, again, does not receive the coverage it deserves in this chapter. But then again, there's many topics that one short semester we're not able to cover everything. So just keep in mind there's certain important areas we're not able to get to. The two major urinalysis methods are called, the first one, enzyme immunoassay, or EIA, technique, the EIA technique, and a two-stage procedure called gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, which is CG/MS. So there's the two stages of it. Therefore, it is possible to provide long-term storage of positive samples in case the tests are disputed. With both methods, the collected urine is divided into two samples prior to being sent off to the lab, so that if the analysis of one sample yields a positive outcome, meaning positive, they test positive for having that drug in their system, the analysis can be repeated on another sample to confirm what you found from that first sample. So it's kind of a double check to make sure that you're not, especially that you're not finding that someone is positive for having drugs in their system and finding that falsely, incorrectly. If you have a double hit, a double confirmation, that gives you a lot more confidence that you're right. A reanalysis is typically required if a person appeals the original test result. With the EIA method, a separate test must be run on each particular drug that is being screened. So it can only test for one particular drug at a time. What we have here is at an earlier time, a previous time, the substance to be tested for, whether it be THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, or cocaine, for example, the preparation part of this, the setup part of these substances get injected into an animal, which elicits particular specific immunological antibodies to that substance. So the first part of this sort of process uses animal reactions to specific drugs. The antibodies are then purified in a testing substrate. When the collected urine from the individual being tested is combined with the testing substrate, a specific reaction will occur if the urine contains the banned, drug substance. So you can see that the sort of background preparation is you have to prepare these substrates, which again come from the animals being injected with the substance. So they're just explaining that there's sort of a two-stage process here. How we prepare the substrates first of all, and then how you get this test where you're combining the substrate with the urine and looking for a specific reaction. A popular commercial testing kit for screening major controlled substances, including opioids, amphetamines, cocaine, benzodiazepines, and marijuana, called enzyme multiplied immunoassay technique, or EMIT, has been marketed by Siemens Healthcare since the early 1970s. The kit is relatively inexpensive and can be used to screen large numbers of urine samples. Since the original patent for EMIT expired many years ago, the EIA method is available on a generic basis by several drug testing companies. Which again, what's the major implication of that? That it's brought down the price a lot, and these are much less expensive than they compared how they used to be. With the GCMS method, the urine is first vaporized and combined with an inert gas, and then passed over a number of chemically treated columns. Through the process of gas chromatography, technicians are able to identify the presence of a banned substance by the different colorations that are left on the columns. Okay, by the way, another side note I'll make is we're going through kind of explaining the technical aspects of these testing. This is one line of work that some people that are interested in criminal justice issues and are interested in working in the criminal justice system, some people will go into lab work where they're actually testing for illicit drugs using these sorts of methods. And this sort of person who studied to get into this line of work, again, usually comes from a biological chemistry background. That's what they were likely to have studied in college to be able to qualify for this kind of lab job. It's again, something closely related to, it's basically a type of forensic employment. After this has been done, the gas is ionized, which means it's converted into an electrically active form and sent through an electric current and magnetic field that separates out each of the different ions, which are electrically charged particles, in the gas. Through the process of mass spectrometry, a particular fingerprint or signature of each chemical substance can be detected and measured. Now, again, for testing purposes, folks, not my intention to treat this course as a science course, but I just want you to get a feel, to get an idea of the approaches that are used, the various approaches, and the pros and cons of these different sorts of approaches, because this drug testing issue is very important nowadays in the country. The GCMS technique is considered more definitive, in other words, more accurate, we can have more confidence in it than the EIA technique, but it is considerably more expensive and time consuming. It is also the only testing procedure that adequately screens for anabolic steroids. Again, this major topic in this chapter. Until the late 1990s, urinalysis was the sole means for drug testing. So again, that's the traditional method, the older traditional method. That was all that was available through the 1990s. Since then, there's been increasing interest in oral fluid testing. In this procedure, a collection pad is placed between the lower cheek and gum for 2 to 5 minutes. The collection pad is then sealed and later analyzed by EIA. The sensitivity and specificity of the results are comparable to those obtained through urinalysis. So this is a sort of a simpler, less invasive technique in certain ways, but yet comparable in its reliability. As with positive urinalysis tests, a confirmation of positive oral fluid test results is made by the GCMS method. So again, think of this GCMS method as being more the confirmation method. The EIA sort of provides evidence that there's a problem, that there's a illegal substance being used, but the GCMS is a stronger confirmation of that. It increases our confidence that we're right. Currently available FDA-approved drug testing systems using oral fluid samples can now provide test results in approximately 15 minutes. So that's another advantage of this sort of oral, saliva approach, is quick, 15 minutes. So it's quicker and in certain ways less invasive than the urinalysis test. So the advantages over traditional urinalysis are obvious. Samples are analyzed on site rather than having to be sent to laboratories. So much quicker in that sense, that they can be analyzed on site. So it's a simpler analysis process. Specimen collection can be performed face to face with the donor with little risk of sample substitution, dilution, or adulteration. So, what are they saying here to translate into plain English is that one weakness of the urinalysis method is that you could, swap. You could get somebody else to pee for you, opening the door for deception. Or other things they're talking about here, contaminating or diluting the urine so as to hopefully mess up the test results. But when you're doing things face to face with the donor, the person providing the saliva, then you can ensure that there's no playing around going on. So it's a more honest test in that sense. Embarrassment on the part of the donor is greatly reduced, as are privacy concerns. Because again, with urinalysis, the person has to have a place that's private where they can provide the urine sample, and it's just a little, maybe you got to walk down the hall with your little cup, that kind of stuff, which can be sort of embarrassing for people. Now, there's two terms you should be familiar with, but we'll go ahead and discuss those in part two.